Hey friends, welcome to another study. So today we're going to be looking at 2 Corinthians 3:18, moving from glory to glory. I hope you've prayed for the Spirit of Christ to lead you and you've got your Bibles open. So let's jump into our theme verses. The idea presented below is that we're starting off in a fleshly state that is about the physical, but we're moving towards the spiritual. We're also starting off in a time-bound state, but we're transitioning to the eternal. 2 Corinthians 3:7, but if the ministry of death, written engraved in stones, was glorious, the 10 Commandments, so that the children of Israel could not look steadily at the face of Moses because of the glory of his countenance, which glory was passing away, how will the ministry of the Spirit not be much more glorious? Verse 18, but we all with unveiled face, beholding a mirror, the glory of the Lord, are being transformed in the same image from glory to glory, just as by the Spirit of the Lord. So the emphasis here is not on the literal, but on the spiritual. Hebrews 10:1, for the law, the 10 Commandments, having a shadow of the good things to come and not the very image of those things, can never, with those same sacrifices which are offered continually year by year, make those who approach perfect. So then moving on, Paul speaks specifically of the commandment as in singular, not plural. So was that a doctrinal error or perhaps a mistranslation? No, because he is warning us about a misunderstanding of the law from supposed teachers that think that the 10 Commandments are a pathway to heaven. So to connect the last slide, we are moving from commandments to commandment, as in singular. 1 Timothy 1:3, as I urge you when you went into Macedonia, remain in Ephesus. So this is good advice for us. Remain in that white, pure church, that you may charge that they teach no other doctrine, nor give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which cause disputes rather than godly edification, which is faith. Now the purpose of the commandment, again singular, is love from a pure heart, from a good conscience, and from sincere faith, from which some have strayed, having turned aside to idle talk, desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither the things they say nor what they affirm. But we know that the law is good if one uses it lawfully, knowing this, that the law, the 10 Commandments, are not made for a righteous person. So then, does Scripture talk about a change in the law done by the true high priest, the antitypical Melchizedek? Well, yes, it does. And note that we are in Hebrews chapter 7. 6 is the number of man plus 1 Christ living in your heart equals perfection. Hebrews 7:11, therefore, if perfection were through the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, the 10 Commandments, what further need was there another priest should rise according to the order of Melchizedek, and not according to the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, so the Levitical is now gone. So we're not going to be paying tithe anymore to support a priesthood that is not in existence. Of necessity, there's also a change in the law. For he of whom these things is spoken belongs to another tribe from which no man has officiated at the altar on earth. Of course, he officiates in heaven. For it is evident that our Lord arose from the tribe of Judah, of which Moses spoke nothing concerning the priesthood. And it is far more evident if in the likeness of Melchizedek there arises another priest who is come, not according to the law of a fleshly commandment, but according to the power of an endless life. So as we said in the beginning, we're focusing now more on the spiritual than on the physical. For he testifies, you are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. So now let's look at the two laws in Scripture. Romans 3:27. Where is boasting then? Is it excluded? By what law? Of works? So the law of works is one law. No, but by the law of faith. So that's the second law. Therefore, we conclude that a man is justified by faith apart from the deeds of the law. Romans 8:1. There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus, who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus, that's one law, has made me free from the law of sin and death, which is the 10 Commandments. For what the 10 Commandments, the law, could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God did by sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh. On account of sin, he condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. So now let's return and talk a little bit more about the commandment, singular. What else did Paul say about it? Romans 13:8, owe no one anything except to love one another. For he who loves another has fulfilled the law. For the commandments, you shall not commit adultery. Now this listing here, these are all the shadows. You shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, shall not covet. And if there's any other commandment, including the fourth commandment, all are summed up in this saying, namely, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no harm to a neighbor, therefore love is the fulfillment of the law. So here again, we have that shift of emphasis from the 10 literal unto the spiritual, which actually underlines those 10 precepts. Galatians 5:13, for you, brethren, have been called to liberty, only do not use liberty as an opportunity for the flesh. In other words, you can grab the 10 commandments right off the cross and start to sin again and be under the law again. But through love serve one another, for all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So then, if all the law is fulfilled in that saying, then that also must be the seal of God. Next, let's look at the doctrine of Jesus himself. Didn't he also talk about the commandment, singular also? Well, yes, he did. But the commandment was new to the disciples because they were used to fulfilling the old covenant letter of the law instead of focusing on the Spirit. So again, that is the change in the focus of the law. So then, if we are moving from glory to glory, we are then passing from the old covenant understanding and works-based salvation unto a place where I die to self and Jesus reigns in me and that glory shines out of me. John 13:31. So when he had gone out, Jesus said, now the Son of Man is glorified and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and glorify him immediately. Little children, I shall be with you a little while longer. You will seek me, and as I said to the Jews, where I'm going, you cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment, singular, I give to you, that you love one another, as I have also loved you, that you also love one another. By this, again, the seal of God, all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. So John also talks about this new commandment as well, and he explains it a little bit more. 1 John 2:7, brethren, I write no new commandment to you, but an old commandment which you have had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which you heard from the beginning. When we look at that word beginning, it is a very clear reference back to Genesis 1:1. So this is an unchanging truth about the kingdom of God is based on love. Again, a new commandment I write to you. Why was it new to them? Because they had previously been in the old covenant mindset of works-based salvation and the 10 commandment keeping as a pathway to heaven. Which thing is true in him and in you, because the darkness is passing away and the true light is already shining. He who is in the light and hates his brother is in the darkness until now. So that is part of the synagogue of Satan. You're spiritually blinded and you don't have the love of Christ in your life. He who loves his brother abides in the light, and there is no cause for stumbling in him. So as we continue to study this singular commandment, we see that in fact there are two parts. You have to love God and you have to have perfect love for your brethren. So the two of those go together and you cannot separate them. So if indeed this commandment was given at the beginning and has been in existence throughout time, then there must mean that people have understood that truth during the Old Covenant time period, and that's exactly what we see in Mark chapter 12. Then one of the scribes came, and having heard them reasoning together, perceived that Jesus had answered them well, and so he asked him, which is the first or the foremost commandment of all? Jesus said to him, the first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment, and the second is likened to it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There's no other commandment greater than these. So the scribe said to him, well said, teacher. See, he already had this truth that was from existence from the beginning. You have spoken the truth, for there is one God, and there's no other but He. There is no Trinity, and to love Him with all your heart, with all the understanding, with all the soul, and with all the strength, and to love one's neighbor as thyself is more than all the sum of the burnt offerings and sacrifices. So this singular commandment actually has a name, and that is the royal law of James chapter 2. And it is royal because it is associated with Christ's robe of righteousness. In order to fulfill this law, we also have to be royalty, but there's a problem. The law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. So the only way to fulfill the royal law is by dying to self and letting that king reign in your heart and over your life. So we have this idea of royalty or kingship, and it is the Greek word basilikos. James 2:8, if you really fulfill the royal law, according to Scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You do well. Acts 12:21, so on the set day, Herod, arrayed in royal basilikos apparel, sat on his throne and gave an oration to them. So then what is the summary of the commandment, the royal law? Well, it's getting out of the old covenant mindset of being an accuser of the brethren with your swords and your spears, putting those away, dying to self. Let Christ reign in you, and then He will do His work for you, and then you can enter His wonderful field and be a witness for Him. Micah 4:1, now it shall come to pass in the latter days, we know the latter days from Daniel chapter 12, verse 12 and 13, that has to do with the time after the time's time and half a time, so we're in the 1843 time period, that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on top of the mountains. This is talking about the true church of God, Jerusalem from above, and shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow to it. Many nations shall come and say, come, let us go to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us His ways, and we will walk in His paths. For out of Zion, very important to note here, not Mount Sinai, the law shall go forth, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between many peoples and rebuke strong nations afar off. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Again, the church of Philadelphia, brotherly love. But everyone shall sit under his vine and under his fig tree, and no one will make them afraid. And I pray that you will join me in that church, Jerusalem from above. Blessings to you in the name of Jesus.